From the Middle is proud to be a founding member of Odd Pods Media. Hey, boys and ghouls. Are there still ghouls floating around? It's episode 229 of From the Middle. We're three middle-class guys living in the middle of America in the middle chapters of our lives with a point of view that falls somewhere in the middle. We're a comedy, culture, entertainment, interview-style podcast, and we have a lot of fun talking about all kinds of things. This week, we talk about Dillon's trip to Cincinnati, 2 amazing concerts he went to, and what's that stinky smell in downtown Cincinnati? It's just La Rosa's Pizza. Hey, we talk about Starbucks, a lot of stuff we're streaming, and Dillon gives us some updates on the long-awaited, by him at least, NCAA football video game, and I share a few stories about what my kids are up to and an amazing camping trip I had on the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky. Enjoy this week's episode, and we'll catch you next time. We're watching from across the sidelines to see if you're enjoying it or not. Okay.
Oh, for the love. Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it? You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved.
From the Middle after dark over here.
We're in Cincinnati. We know we want to order food. So I call the front desk, and I'm surprised somebody was at the front desk. That's another story.
Okay.
There's somebody at the front desk, and I say, hey, do you have a really good local pizza place that'll deliver to the hotel? And I said specifically, not like a chain. I don't want Pizza Hut is fine, whatever, but I don't want a chain. I want like a really good local pizza.
Yeah.
And the person said, oh, like La Rosa's. And I said, great. Is that like a local? That's not like a chain.
The local chain.
It's but not like a national chain.
It's like Flyers. Flyers is like a Columbus chain.
Yeah. Okay. Which is fine. Or Pizza Cottage is like a Columbus area chain. That would be fine. I was saying not like across 10 states regional chain or across the nation. And she said, oh yeah, it's really good local pizza. So we ordered that and had it delivered to the room. So as we were eating it, I was just curious, without expressing an opinion, what Cincinnati area people's opinion of it is.
But even now you have a sheepish grin on your face and you're trying to tell us that you haven't shared an opinion. But we're all reading into what you're doing, Dillon.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I just asked a question to the Cincinnati natives because here's why. Here's why I asked.
Okay.
You could say, that something is a local food, and it's not necessarily that it's the best. It's not that it's amazing, but it's good and commonly accepted. Lots of people will eat it. So my question was kind of trying to figure out, does Cincinnati area natives think this is awesome pizza? Or is it just like the kind of place that everyone is willing to go eat and likes it? Generally likes it.
They all, maybe they all grew up going there. Kind of like people are out now. Pizza Hut's a national chain.
Or least offensive. It's not a polarizing pizza, so everyone's willing to go to La Rosa's because it's like a really good neutral spot for families to go. So I was just trying to get a sense of what the person at the front desk was talking about. Also, unique situation there that I was referring to. Never been in this situation before. We checked into our hotel, and there's one entrance to 2 brands of hotel. You go from the street level up to the lobby, and when you get off the elevators, there's 2 openings with a divider, and one is one brand hotel and one is one brand. Now, I'm sure they're both owned by the same parent company, so it's basically the same thing. But there's 2 different hotel lobbies with a wall in between and open space to the elevator. So at one point, we go down to get snacks, and both of them have long counters, like check-in counters, and then coolers and their own sitting areas because they're divided up by brand A and brand B.
Yeah.
So we go to our hotel's desk, and we grab a snack from the cooler area, whatever, and then walk over. And the check-in, we sit there for a minute, and no one's there. And then there's this little sign that says, "If no one is at this counter, please, and you need something, please go to the other side."
Okay.
Go to the other hotel.
The other hotel brands thing. And we were trying to get some drinks and snacks and stuff. They didn't have anything I wanted. So fine, let's walk around to the other side. Because now I'm thinking if you can go to the other side, certainly the drinks and snacks are interchangeable. And then we get over there and there's no one there, but they have a little sign that says, if there's nobody on this side, just go to the other one, go to the other side and talk to them. And so 5 or 6 of us did this kind of back and forth swap thing several times before nobody showed up. And neither of them had different drinks. So they're clearly owned by the same people with the same drinks and the same snacks. And eventually somebody saw somebody step out of a door and they're like, "Hey." My idea was if we took a video of that experience and tweeted the parent company, do we think that they could have gotten somebody to show up at a desk before they would show up at a desk on their own? Would that have been faster?
That's a fun experiment.
We didn't have to do it in the end, and they didn't have any drinks for me, but it was fun while it lasted. So that was neat. I've never been to a hotel that's 2 hotels.
By the way, Dillon still thinks he's going to get away with not pissing off people in Cincinnati.
You can take this for what it is, because somebody asked. I asked the question while trying to express an opinion, and apparently I've already expressed opinion. I understand people think I'm pretentious with pizza. To be clear, I'll eat any kind of pizza, even bad pizza. But if we're talking about what I really like, a lot of pizza misses the mark because I think they're lacking seasoning or flavor or both, which just seems surprising with a food like pizza. But if Columbus is ketchup on saltines, La Rosa's is tomato paste on gordita bread. And if that's better or worse for you, then I guess enjoy. I don't know. It felt a lot like a pizza kit, like a Chef Boyardee pizza kit pizza that I would make.
A Lunchable, like a big size of a Lunchables.
Oh,
yeah,
boy. That's
like a
funny.
big, but if you took Taco Bell gordita bread and opened a can of tomato paste and put that on it and spread it on it, that's kind of what it was like.
That's funny.
So if that sounds good to you,
it's not what you would expect from a place that calls themselves the Queen City.
Yeah, it was really interesting. But we had a great time. My wife and I were down there for the weekend. We went to 2 concerts, which didn't start out that way. We booked one and we're going to go for the weekend. And then very soon, not weeks after we booked the first tickets, we saw tickets to another concert that were like, we're going to be there anyways.
Yeah.
And so we booked a second set and we left our daughter with her grandparents. And so we had a great time. Easily the most dead deer that I have ever seen on a drive to and from anywhere. Could have filled a medium U-Haul with the number. Not an exaggeration. I specifically asked Brie on the way home because I was laughing to myself as I thought of that.
What size U-Haul would I need to clean up all these deer?
I said, I don't want to exaggerate on the podcast, although we do sometimes for comedic emphasis. I said, no, this is really funny to me. The idea that we could fill a U-Haul with deer carcasses. And I said, am I exaggerating at all? And her dad owned a moving company, so she can assess the size of a U-Haul. I said, is a medium U-Haul accurate with the number of deer carcasses that you could put in it? And she said, no, that is not inaccurate. You are not exaggerating. That is true. So many dead deer. She started counting after I made that observation out loud. She started counting with me. So many.
Wow.
Yeah. It was great. Great time.
So many questions, but I have to pause and just welcome everybody to episode 220.
Oh, did we start recording?
Oh, we've been recording for a while here, Dillon. Yeah. So I know we've teased, I think, now for at least 1, maybe 2 weeks about the big guest that was going to be coming on this episode. And ladies and gentlemen, Kory's here.
Yay.
He does exist.
Right.
Welcome back. Seriously though, we are going to have a guest. Some gross stuff is going around. Lots of people are sick right now, and hopefully our guest is feeling better. He should be on next week, and I can't wait to chat more pizza with him. We don't have to talk about La Rosa's. And
Or
then
do
Kory
we?
Kory is our guest this week. So get some album art of yourself. Thanks for showing up. This is great.
Yeah, no problem. I think I have what he has, which is why my voice sounds this way. Just hacking up all kind of brown phlegm and a super sore throat. It's not COVID, so that's good. But it is funky and it is not fun. Okay, questions about your trip. First of all, this has to be the first trip that you and Bree have enjoyed in quite a long time. I mean, to have a couple nights away is pretty special and pretty rare for you guys, no?
True. Yes. Very rare. We hadn't done more than one night away since she's been born. So 2 nights was literally twice as special.
Fantastic. Congratulations. Tell us who you saw. Who did you have tickets to first? And then who dropped dates that you got to see on the second show?
Yeah. So we initially booked Ben Rector was performing at the Aronoff Theater. Opening up for him was Jordy Searcy, which we had talked about way back when John McLaughlin was performing in Newark. Jordy Searcy opened up for him. So nice of those guys to share Jordy, and he performed for Ben. He actually opened up for him and then came back out and like played most of the rest of the show with him. And
cool.
Ben had another musician that's actually from Cincinnati, Austin. He was switching between piano and guitar back and forth and playing for Ben. So we had booked that, and we had picked our hotel that was literally like right beside the Aronoff Center on the map. So then we saw Teddy Swims was going to be in Cincinnati the next night. So Ben was on Friday and Teddy was on Saturday, like 2 miles away at UC's campus on Saturday night. And that was at a venue kind of like the Basement or Kemba Live, Columbus, like standing room only, downstairs, some bars at the back, and kind of like we did for Mark Rebier. More recently, we had talked about that, and just thought like if we're gonna be there, like we should just go see Teddy. And it's crazy because the tickets were very reasonable for both, but also Teddy. And then by the time I got on the app to like check something for the venue, the resale tickets were like 150 or 180 bucks or something. They were like crazy more than we paid for them. So congrats to Teddy for blowing up. Venues were incredibly different environments. So one was this kind of beautiful theater, mostly a millennial audience, which was kind of created a smell of like Goodwill and baby wipes. Was kind of the combination there, but all ages at both concerts for sure. Unlike the Gaithers last year when we saw them, that was like hairspray and mothballs.
Ben Gay.
Yeah, totally different smell and
That's a baby powder smell. Strong baby powder smell coming.
We were far and away the youngest people last year at the Gaithers, and very much in the mix this time. We actually showed up when
I'm out. Yes, folks, you heard it correct. If you've ever wondered about our musical interest in the variety band, he just said Gaither vocal band last year. And
after you get done looking that up,
Teddy Swims and Ben Rector back-to-back nights.
Yeah. All over the board. Tons of millennials. We walked in like right when the doors open, super easy, quiet flow. Everyone's so nice and complimentary, and we're sitting, and Ben is so polite and wholesome, but puts on an incredible show. I'll share some of the videos that I took in our Facebook from the Middle for the Middlers page. I got some videos of both shows. The venue for Teddy, I was definitely too focused on the sticky floors to have smelled anything. It was a sticky basement. Some of our listeners can probably relate to that.
Probably
sticky basement.
He does seem like a sticky floor venued kind of guy.
Never picked up a smell. I was just trying to make sure, you know how like in a cartoon, like when there's some kind of creature that's like sticky or whatever, like they like kind of swallow the shoes of a character and like they can't move at all and start to get pulled like under some. That's kind of what my shoes felt like. Like I thought I was gonna go home alone, like climbing up the stairs from the basement, and like each step I was gonna lose a shoe and a sock.
Yeah,
on my way, like up the steps. Both awesome.
So there was a floor texture, but not a smell at the Teddy Swims concert, huh?
I mean,
are you sure there wasn't anything?
There could have been. It's
like an issue 2 rally going on.
It's like in your
or
it's like in your, if you're in pain, the worst pain is what is all you can focus on. And so kind of that. The sticky floor was kind of the worst pain in the situation. Either that or my feet. We talked about that at Mark Rebier, like standing and how we're old and our feet hurt. So anyways, both awesome concerts. I think Kelly Dulé, is how you say it. She opened for Teddy Swims. Very good. They both got tons of views on YouTube. So it was an awesome time. Both great concerts, both worth seeing if you're into that kind of thing. We had a ton of fun. We tried some different food. Shout out to La Rosa's, and we like Maggiano's. I know it's a chain, but delicious Italian food. We stopped there on our way back because it's so good. Well, we had a great time. It was a lot of fun.
Good for you. That's super exciting. And you got to see 2 musicians and artists that I think are on the rise. I mean, Ben's been around for a minute, but I feel like he's having a surge right now. Like he's been in some commercials and things, and some of his videos seem to have gone viral. And then Teddy, you know, he's definitely blowing up right now. His new album dropped earlier this late summer, early fall. I was late to the game on that one.
It feels like the industry is like currently looking for people like him.
Yeah,
they're looking to cross country and R&B and hip hop. Like there's this new funky kind of vibe that's going on among the country and hip hop crowds.
Yeah,
that seems really cool and novel. And a lot of people seem to like it. And
yeah, I mean, several people asked, like we mentioned, we were going to the second music venue for Teddy, and they're like, "Who's that? What kind of music is he?" And I'm like, it's like if Nat King Cole was singing like smooth rock and hip hop, and I don't know how to describe it. I'm like, he's got a certain feel to his voice that's not easily replicated. But he like looks like Jelly Roll. He's all tatted up and beard, and you know,
there's a Stapleton-esque-ness to him in his vocal quality.
Yeah,
that I think people are drawn to. I turned like 2 or 3 people onto him this past week. All I got to do is play that second track from his newest album, and they're like, "Oh, I need Lose Control." I think.
Yeah, he's so good. He covered Don't Stop Believin'. He covered the one for his mom that he talks about on YouTube. He's great. Just go check him out on YouTube if you're not sure. His new album's awesome. One of the new album songs sounds like it could be straight like Bond title, like when Adele did a Bond song a few years ago. It has very much that feel. Really, really cool. Good album. Kelly Dulé was solid too. You check her out. She's got some tracks. I'll try to share some of that stuff out from our pages. So if you forget to go search, you'll hopefully just see it in your feed if you're following us everywhere.
Yeah, folks. So we probably engage the most on our Facebook group, From the Middle for the Middlers. Check that out. Please join that if you haven't already. And that's where we share most of our stuff. We kind of treat that like our version of a paywall, except we don't charge you. But that's our Patreon, sort of. So go check us out there. Kendall, what's up with you, my man? It's good to see you, buddy. It's been a minute.
Yeah. So speaking of Cincinnati, Amy's parents are in Cincinnati. That's where Amy is from, Cincinnati. And speaking of the show and the issue 2 smell coming from the club, Amy's mom just recently found out what that weird skunk smell is that she keeps smelling as she's out and about the city.
Yeah.
And I wish I could have been there for that
Yeah.
moment. It would have been fun. It would have been fun. So I guess her neighbors are pretty heavy users of the ganj. And now she knows that like they don't have a skunk problem. They have a skunk
Right.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it
so
a problem?
What's that?
Is it a problem?
Is it? Well, I mean, we'll find out, right?
Find out soon.
Election
it's
day
funny.
is tomorrow as of recording this, so we'll see.
Well, I certainly smelled that around the city. I really honestly didn't know. I'm surprised because the concert was like by UC's campus. I was really expecting that to be pretty prevalent. And apparently UC likes to block off a bit of like what they call short vine area, and they'll put up a huge screen on game day as people are like eating and drinking and doing other things, near all those venues right by campus. And I really didn't notice it. Like, I mean, I noticed it more downtown than I did up by the campus, which I was surprised by. But it is. Yeah, it's certainly something you can't miss, unless you're dealing with sticky floors, I guess.
That's true. So we'll see. Never mind. I get myself in trouble. My mind goes places, and I'm not going to say it this time. I had regrets last time. I said something I didn't want to. Anyway, La Rosa's is so there's one close to where my in-laws live, and every time like we send a kid or a couple of kids, whatever, down there, which is relatively often, like going to La Rosa's is always a thing. And when we visit, like I've been to La Rosa's a good handful of times, and I like it. I wanted to point out to the people around here, maybe this doesn't make them look all that great, but there is one that opened up like a couple of years ago in Dublin, Ohio. And so like our family went there because we're familiar with La Rosa's, and the one in Dublin is not good. A good version of La Rosa's. So Dillon, you went to the good version of La Rosa's. I put
did.
that out there.
And still had the Lunchables experience.
Still had the Lunchables experience.
I
would compare it to if anybody has been to a Bellacino's in this area, I think it's very similar to a Bellacino's.
Okay. Well, part of my question too was I ate some of it not hot, but when it got to our hotel, which I understand delivery is not ideal to try something for the first time.
But that's 90% of us who are going to eat
as an
it
example,
that way, right?
though, like I'm not really a fan of Donato's, but I do understand there's a real big difference between sitting in a Donato's and ordering fresh pizza when it hits your table, and then any of it delivered tastes way different. And some pizza gets better as it sits out a little longer, and that is not Donato's. So, like, if you want the best Donato's, go sit at a Donato's and eat it while it's hot, and it's very, very different. And so I thought maybe that's La Rosa's thing. Maybe you just need to really go sit there and eat it while it's hot, and maybe that's a whole other experience. And I'm open to that. So you can tell me if that's a thing with La Rosa's. Maybe not the Dublin one.
I don't know if that specifically is a thing. I've certainly had it both ways, delivered but usually in restaurant is how I've had it.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I'm sorry if anyone thinks my pretentiousness has taken over yet again in a pizza.
Well, that's okay.
Here we are. I have my flaws.
The La Rosa's crowd is a pretty small crowd.
It's much smaller than the Skyline Chili crowd, I'm sure. So.
And much smaller than the Starbucks crowd. So,
well, there you go. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. There you go. Speaking of Starbucks, have you guys been lately? I know Kory has.
Yes. I have, but I haven't tried the new drinks.
You haven't tried any of the new things?
No.
They have like this list of like six different new holiday flavors that are coming out, and apparently, like, my understanding is like only a couple of them are new. This is how out of touch I am with Starbucks. I didn't realize. I knew that like the cups were a big deal. I didn't know that like there were like Christmas drinks that came around. Have they been doing this forever and I just didn't know? Because there's like a bunch. There's like a gingerbread cookie one.
Yeah.
There's an apple cider apparently that they do.
Yeah, this is so. We stopped at Jungle Gyms in Cincinnati, which, boy, do I have some treats for us to taste next time we're in person.
It's a beautiful place.
And there's a Starbucks attached to the Jungle Gyms we went to, and we went in, and Bree was chatting with one of the people at Starbucks about the new holiday drinks. And they said, "Oh, you can try. We just made a fresh thing of whatever. They must have been making a big batch of it for them to share or something." So they gave us a tiny sample cup of something like sugar cookie or something.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "Try this." And so we both took a sip in a tiny cup. He's like, "But don't drink it that way." And we're like, He's like, "You got to do it with this. You got to add this cream and then do this much cinnamon and then add some nutmeg on top. And then it takes the sugar cookie to like crazy new level." And I wish I knew all the things that he changed about it. So she's like, "Just make me that." And it went from like a milk that kind of tasted like a cookie had been dunked in it to like cinnamon snickerdoodle is punching me in the face. That's kind of like the difference between. So I don't know if they've got some like secret drink with the but you could probably say, what would you add to make it like a cinnamon snickerdoodle sugar cookie? And what if I wanted it to punch me in the face instead of taste like coffee? What ingredients would that have in it? Do you think? And you could ask him that because the person in Cincinnati knew how to do that.
That's great. That is a legit skill.
Yeah.
Starbucks. Maybe that's a good way to think about it. That is what baristas at Starbucks, that's their thing. We all know, and it's not an illegitimate thing because it's the populace decided that, a whole lot of us don't actually really like coffee. We like coffee adjacent drinks.
Sure.
We want to go. We want to go
Starbucks
get sugary candy drinks at a place that kind of smells like burnt coffee beans.
Yes. So Starbucks, like
coffee, but
they don't know anything about single origin Ethiopian beans and what that flavor, like they don't know coffee like that.
Yeah.
But only people who like coffee like that are people who actually like and enjoy the tastes of different kinds of coffee from all over the world.
Yeah.
It's not Starbucks.
I don't have single origin, but if you want pumpkin spice to rip your heart open, boy.
Exactly.
Do I have a drink?
Their thing is to be a mixologist, to make a coffee adjacent product for you, and you can tell them what you're looking for and they can help you out. And like that's my thing. That's what I think Starbucks is. When I think Starbucks barista and coffee, my mind needs to make a shift from they are not backroom coffee roasters. They are Starbucks. They are bartenders who are good at making drinks that don't taste like alcohol, only they're making drinks that don't taste like coffee.
But don't you feel like they've leaned into that more? I agree with you. I feel like they've doubled down on that recently. For a while, I feel like they tried to convince themselves, perhaps, that no, we really care about coffee and we have these different blends. We also have some frou-frou drinks, but our main thing is coffee. I feel like lately, and lately could mean over the last couple of years, they've really leaned more into the unicorn frap, pumpkin spice, whatever, Christmas cookie. Feels like they're going harder in the paint on that stuff than they ever were.
I mean, it became clear maybe that there was a lot of money to be made with the BWB pumpkin spice latte. And if you don't know what BWB stands for, I'm not telling you. Pumpkin spice latte thing, and they're like, wait a minute, we could explode this segment now. Here is your menu of 8 more seasonal drinks. Come buy them all.
I think it depends on market. So I think in the US, you guys are spot on. And then They opened up like their first
So
Italian one, and it's got like a full
Mhm.
roaster in it. Like
Yeah.
I don't think they're trying to play up the frou coffee adjacent in Italy. Like
Probably
they've got
not.
a full freaking. They're like roasting beans right there, and you're gonna
Well,
get
this is where they would come up with like the crazy idea of the olive oil coffee thing. Right. I watched a video of a guy I really appreciate on YouTube, James Hoffman, I think is his name, who is a coffee connoisseur kind of guy. And he went to this Starbucks and he did tasting of all of their olive oil drinks. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if those even stick. But he thought it was weird but fun at the same time. That was his basic takeaway.
Interesting. It's fascinating.
Yeah. Kory, what's
Yeah.
up, buddy?
Hey, I feel like this is a great time to take a
Okay.
break and hear some words from some of our friends in Odd Pods Media before I start talking. Okay, talk soon. Bye.
Hey, I'm Lauren,
And I'm John.
and we host the Beard Al Podcast, the podcast where we talk about two of the greatest things in the world, beer and Weird Al.
And a lot of other things. We're funny.
Yeah, that's basically what I told him to say. Good job with your
I
script.
listened.
Yay! But no, seriously, we try and pair a beer with a Weird Al song and talk about both things and go where the conversation takes us. It's fun, I promise. You'll like it.
Yeah, I mean, if you like talking about random things as well as, fine craft beers and some wonderful craft music.
Hey, before
are.
before I dive into my updates, I just want to say I really appreciated y'all's love for Matthew Perry. I listened to you guys' episode. That was really cool. That's a tough loss, Dillon. I know he felt like a friend to you, especially. You devoted a lot of hours to watching
All
that
right.
show.
Okay.
No, I mean seriously. So yeah, that was a huge bummer. That hit me in the feels when I heard about it.
And your wife is also a huge
Yeah.
Friends fan. What was her reaction? Because I've not talked to her since. Not about that, at least.
Honestly, we were sort of tiffing, and I said, "Did you hear about Matthew Perry?" And she's like, "Yeah." And that was pretty much the end of it. So I didn't get the authentic response. I'm sure
Do
she
you know how they say like what you're fighting about is never really the thing that you're fighting about? It was Matthew Perry.
it was Matthew Perry.
The underlying issue was Matthew Perry, and it was just coming out and you not putting down the toilet seat. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to say that, and I didn't. It was the second thing you wanted me to weigh in on was the Starbucks drinks, and I don't have an opinion. We just covered that, and I can't remember the third thing. Anyway, a lot's been going on over here, and it's compounded because we had a guest a couple weeks back, and then I was gone, and so I'll just fly through them at a high level. Feel free; we can double click on the interesting ones, but. Kind of a big milestone. I mean, we say, you guys said before you started talking Matthew Perry, hey, sometimes we get serious and sometimes we're silly and sometimes we just like to record our memories of things so we can come back and treat this as a sort of time capsule. And so Sherry and I took our eldest daughter for all of our first ever college visit a couple weeks back. And that is something that when you're a parent, the concept of your child going off to college is very intimidating and scary potentially, and like all the what ifs and where are they going to decide to go, and let alone what might their major be. We went to a college in the Central Ohio area. It's about 37 minutes from our house. It's called Mount Vernon Nazarene University. Many are familiar with it. It's got a great reputation. Here's a couple just things as a parent, right? So like Dillon and I have family and friends that have gone there. Lily got to go to a Little Sibs weekend with one of our cousins years back. Little Sibs weekend, now that I'm a parent, having a kid deciding to go off to college is such a smart way to plant a seed in that child's brain because Lily, God love her, is like, if you ask her where is she going to go to college before ever visiting Mount Vernon again, since that little Sibs weekend, has said, I'm probably going to go to Mount Vernon.
Yeah.
Just because of the little Sibs weekend experience, they make it really fun. And so I'm kind of glad that she did that Pepperdine thing this past summer, or else she would have like virtually locked Mount Vernon in and she's only a junior in high school, right? But I'm like, I'm glad she got to at least see another campus. And trust me, we're going to force her to go look at other places. But
yeah,
man, it was such a wonderful tour experience. And I'm actually trying to push her to look at places a little further away from home. She's decided she wants to go to a place in Ohio for sure. But they did such a great job with the tour. Like, Sherry and I are observant people, and we have thoughts and opinions on, we watch any system or go into any restaurant or see how something operates and go, that could be different. When they had you do the survey at the end of like, what could we have done better? We just stared at each other. We're like, literally everything about that experience was perfect. The admissions people had so clearly designed every aspect of that experience, to the degree that at one point we were going to have to walk between buildings, and there was a drizzle outside, and there was like two admissions people with like buckets of umbrellas so that we wouldn't get a drop of water on us.
Wow.
Clearly, they want you to go there. They want your kids to go there. They want to provide an amazing experience. It was so good. And I just have to say, it was such a good college tour experience that regardless of whether or not she goes there, it took away some of our fears about this next chapter of life in general. That's how good their tour experience was. So that was crazy. I can't believe we're already having these conversations as a family. And again, she's only a junior in high school, but it's like around the corner, and you begin thinking about the types of things you have to begin thinking about to have those conversations as a family a little bit earlier than. So I would actually recommend that rather than wait to do all that stuff your kid's senior year. Start having them just go look at places, asking questions, walk around.
Yeah.
And then after you're done, they're like, hey, if you want to come back, if you want to like do a trial weekend with like just crash in the dorms, if you want to go meet some more professors from your potential field of study, like it was so thought out how they did it, and a really positive experience. And so that was one thing that was cool.
If she doesn't want an official tour of Ohio State, I'd be happy to take her for an unofficial one.
See?
Because everyone says, and I talked to her and I told her this, she's like, oh, everyone tells you how big the campus is. I'm like, unless you're like in medical or ag, you're actually on a pretty small like portion of campus. So
There's
don't let
only a
people
couple
talk.
of buildings for most people. Yeah.
It's the Oval and the South Oval. That's pretty much it. So don't let people talk you out of Ohio State. If you don't want to go there, don't go there. But don't let them talk you out of it because everything's so far.
Yeah. And instead of buckets of umbrellas, they come out with bulletproof vests for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You're going to be safe.
But these are exactly the type of things that these experiences begin to trigger, because the things that seem to be important to Lily are not the things that I think through or thought through when I was going to college. Like, I even took her on my campus. I drove through my campus, Columbus College of Art and Design. Her first question, how many buildings? I said, what do you mean? Like total buildings? She's like, yeah. And then I told her, and then she's like, but how many did you have to go to? And I was like 3. I went between 3 buildings pretty much. And how far were those away? Like the furthest one was like a block and a half. And then I start thinking back, like her biggest struggle her freshman year was like, I need to walk my schedule. I need to know where the rooms are. So like she very much cares about quantity of buildings and how far those buildings are, and wants to walk through. Like small and intimate is really important to her. She does not want the big experience. But like that's something that another kid might not even care about. One of my friend's kids is like, can I have a car on campus freshman year? Yes or no? That's going to change where I will be willing to consider going to college on whether or not I can have a car there freshman year, because I don't want to feel trapped. Like they start to think through and learn the things that are important to them in the experience. So Yeah, that was such a. I guess what I'm saying is a thing that I thought was so big and scary. We sort of demystified a bit, and like it, that experience alone made it seem a lot less scary, and started to put data points to the things that we started to want to consider, at least for one kid. And then, yeah, so shout out to Mount Vernon Nazarene and their amazing experience. The next day, or 2 days later, rather, the middle child, Chloe, was qualified for state invitationals for cross country. And so Dillon and Bree, you brought Finley. That was awesome. She had a whole army of supporters. So to see our middle child run at state invitationals for junior high was pretty cool. And in between those two experiences, our son Caseman had his first quarterbacking experience in a flag football game. That season is now over, and he has transitioned to basketball. But to see him quarterback his first flag football game was pretty special. No kid in the entire season has walked up under center and gestured or called out or pointed out anything to the team. But Case gets up under center and he starts saying, "Move up over." And he's like pointing to the defense to like call out their formations and what he thinks they're going to do, because he's watched so many Joe Burrow videos. I'm like, he's like emulating what he sees quarterbacks doing. And I've never seen that side of him. Like, he's not been that assertive about much in any other sport. So to see him just be so confident, he's about a head taller than a lot of his peers on the team. So it's cool to see.
Can we have a segment where we give kids a dry erase board and they have to draw a play and then they have to name it? Like, I want baked beans 22, like I want to know what mac and cheese 47 looks like. I want to see those plays. That needs to be a segment.
Skibbity toilet 7, skibbity
exactly,
toilet 7.
Yeah. Reindeer fart.
Yeah. SpongeBob Patrick 23. Friends go. I just want to know what all those plays look like.
Yeah.
So that was just a power-packed weekend of like kid experiences at very different phases of life. And it's one of those things that I'm like, if I don't talk about that, I'm going to like forget that one weekend felt like so many seminal experiences in one chunk of time. So that was pretty cool. And then it's been a lot of back-to-back travel. And then the last thing I want to update you guys on, I had scheduled some time with some guy friends to do some camping. And when Michael Kent was on, he talked about an app that he uses when he's touring the country. And remind me what it recommends, like interesting sites to visit. Was that what it was? Like when you go to a city, like historical sites or something like that? We have to go back and listen. Keep us honest, listeners. But anyway, an app I highly recommend if you like camping, like Kendall and I do. It's called Hip Camp. And you can put in filters. It's the Airbnb of camping. So you can put in filters like, I want there to be a body of water nearby, or I want them to be able to provide a dozen farm fresh eggs when I check in quotes, or I want there to be access to electricity or potable water or whatever. So this app, Hip Camp, some guy friends of mine were searching through and we wanted a place on water. And we found this amazing place in Kentucky. I don't want to blow up this spot because I want to still be able to go back there. So what this is private landowners that give you access to their property. And they'll usually have like, leave $25 in the box out by the road, and there will be firewood and eggs at the campsite for you. And you don't have the noise of traditional campgrounds and a bunch of people next to you. In fact, so a lot of these places literally just have one spot reserved for campers to come. So it's not like there's even a lot of other people, other sites that they could have if other people knew about this specific location. So it's in Kentucky. It's on the Bourbon Trail. Kendall, you lose cell phone reception at some point, and then you drive for another like 5 miles. And so now you're just in
Nice.
between like farms and stuff like this. And they're like, the instructions were literally like, turn left at the walnut tree. And if you get to this barn, you've gone too far type stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we pull onto this private property, and rather than go back to the landowner's home, there was a big sign with spray paint on it that said camp with a big arrow. And you follow a fence row. And the next thing you know, you're driving out onto a peninsula. And on that peninsula, it opens up and there's room for, we guessed, about 7 to 10 tents. And you are completely surrounded by water 30 feet down. The only spot that's not water is the little peninsula that you drove out on. So you're almost surrounded on 360 degrees by lake water, like 30 feet down. It's like a sheer rock face. So we get out there and we're like, best camping site we've ever seen.
Yeah.
The only negative about the experience was that the water was covered in duckweed. It's floating green algae like stuff that makes it really hard to fish or whatever.
Yeah.
But other than that, seriously, it was 2 nights with some of my guy friends. One of the best experiences we've ever had. We're each corporate guys that 2 of us travel and are feeling very stretched thin, as they say in Lord of the Rings, like butter over too much bread. And it was just such an amazing time of nature and fellowship and food over a fire. Something we even splurged one night and got like super expensive ribeyes. And I made the sides, and each guy was responsible for cooking their own steak on a cast iron skillet on this peninsula in the fall in Kentucky. Perfect weather until we had to pack up in the rain, but that's a whole other thing. So awesome experience, super fun. Check out, if you like primitive camping or tent camping, you might call it, check out Hip Camp and just start toggling some of the filters and find spots around you. There's good winter spots for camping. Anyway, so a lot's been going on. I'm not even going to get into work travel stories. There was a lady on my last flight that got her cat on the plane when they said families could board. Don't get me started. So yeah, that's what's up.
Also, not the app that Michael was talking about, but it's one I downloaded, audio, but AUTIO. And as you're traveling, there's little pinpoints on the map that are like informational. So kind of like you would get on an official tour guide from an official tour guide somewhere. As an example, when I tap on the point, it's in Westerville, it says once, quote, dry capital of the world, and you can hit play and it'll play an audio track for you.
Oh, like
so like your own little tour that you're having. If I hit Delaware, Ohio, it says early days of Delaware, Ohio. There's one for the Longaberger basket out in Dresden. So that's one at AUTIO if you want. Not what he was talking about, but if you like that kind of thing, check it out.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And I just have to say, huge thank you to my wife, who was cool with me going camping for 2 days in the midst of what has been an especially busy travel schedule for work. So she knew that I needed the time, and I was very grateful to her and for allowing me to do that, because I know she holds down the fort while I'm away on work trips. So that was she did not have to be cool with that, and she was. So it's good times. Kendall, we got to go back there. I can't wait to show you pictures.
Yeah, no, I'd love to do that. I often think about that, like what would a camping trip with Kory and I and Dillon look like? And it looks a lot like a camping trip with Kory and I.
And the benefit to this is, no, that will blow up the spot too much. Okay, I can say you are a mere couple miles from a very famous distillery on the Bourbon Trail.
Oh, that's fun.
So private land, a few miles from a distillery, if you want to go on your way in or out. And
all the better.
It's a great fall camping spot.
Now, are you still a hammock guy?
Yeah, I did the hammock.
Yeah, you did the hammock.
Yeah,
Cool.
which was great. We thought it was going to be as low as like the low 40s, but if you put an under quilt under the hammock, you're still generally okay. Especially if you've got a proper rated sleeping bag. But we had a lot more rain than we thought. And so that was the only not fun part, because then you got to bring all your stuff home, get it all back out,
Get it all out. Yep.
let it dry so that it doesn't smell musty.
Yeah. You're
Packing-
setting up and tearing down a whole extra time.
Packing wet gear is probably the worst part of camping.
Yeah.
That is my wet grocery bags exploding on themselves, is what you're saying.
Sleeping.
Well, I think this might top even that, Dillon.
Sleeping
What?
with the rain. It was a heavy rain all night. Sleeping with it was epic. Oh, it's so wonderful. You just know that it's not going to dry out in time, and you got to pack up all that wet crap.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's why, like, if you're camping and you plan things accordingly, like, don't plan to wake up and leave.
Yeah.
Plan to wake up, cook breakfast, leave at about lunchtime, because otherwise you're going to deal with the dew and everything on your stuff.
That was the original plan. In fact, they had this a metal grate over top of like 2 layers of cinder blocks, and the grate was pretty thick.
Yeah.
And so we even put all of our coals underneath that grate so that we could cook breakfast in the morning, because we knew the rain was coming. When we went back out, it had rained so much, there wasn't a coal anywhere to be found.
Yeah.
And it was one of those, like, we could just get frustrated, and we could try to make a fire and just be annoyed.
Yeah.
Then you've got all the, all your dishes are now, it's like, let's just pack up and find a McDonald's on the way home.
Yeah.
As amazing experiences we had, we were just like, we're only going to frustrate ourselves.
Absolutely.
More at this point.
Hey, a lot of camping trips end that way. That's okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean the rest of it wasn't worth it.
It was awesome.
If you're close enough to Cincinnati, there's always La Rosa's. So
That's right.
order a little breakfast scramble.
If you're into Lunchables.
If you're
It
into
was on the way back, and we missed it on
Tortillas.
purpose. So I've been on a lot of planes. Let me wrap up with some stuff that I've streamed or am streaming.
Yes.
So I watched Old Dads with Bill Burr.
Okay.
I want you guys to watch that, and I want to have a discussion on that. The premise of the story is that Bill Burr's character had children later in life, and so he's out of touch with the hyper parenting, woke culture, helicopter parenting, free, all the things that are hotly debated in
It
parenting.
sounds like a Bill Burr stand-up sketch, like stand-up set.
And so you're supposed to watch the movie and go, oh, this guy's out of touch and all. And I found myself going, I kind of agree with a lot. Like, he literally tells his son to rub dirt in his boo-boo. And then, like,
Yeah.
a guy comes by and goes, that's very dangerous. And he's like, shut your, it's just exactly what you imagine Bill Burr saying. But I'm like, I kind of relate more with
I love it.
with the exaggerated.
Yeah. I like Bill Burr. Some of my favorite. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, I find myself agreeing with the caricature that he's portraying.
Yeah.
In the principles that style of parenting. So his wife really wants their son to get into this other school, but there's this preschool run by this, like, crazy hippie woman who is like, you need her blessing to get your kid into the next range of quality schools, and so you can't make a bad impression. And of course, day one, he's 2 minutes late to pick up, and she's like, well, have you read the handbook on what it means if we're late to pick up, and you have to pay a fine? And then he goes, just tell me what I owe you. She goes, but you don't have to the first time. That's a warning. And he doesn't want to play the whole game and do the whole dance, right? And then he loses his cool and calls her a bad word, and then he has to apologize to every parent that was there. But then there's all these extra people there during his apology. I'm not giving away any, like, major plot points.
Yeah.
They're just people who heard about his outburst who were offended. Other parents who heard about it through the grapevine who need an apology from him. And he's like, you're only here because somebody told you Like, it's just so good. So I feel like you guys need to watch it. We need to talk about it because I feel
Yeah.
like it will raise a bunch of interesting
All
comedic.
right, what's that streaming on?
It's on Netflix. Old Dads.
All right,
Bill Burr.
looking it up now.
Okay, so this is one, Dillon, that our dad recommended a while back, Wind River. And that was Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen. Not for the faint of heart. It's kind of a tragic story based on real events, but man, it's one of those good sort of like a little bit of a revenge flick. It takes place in like on an Indian reservation in, I believe, Wyoming in like the dead of winter. And so there's a lot of really beautiful scenes, and there's a lot of fun outdoor. It's got a little bit of a Yellowstone vibe to it. Pete Holmes' new special, I Am Not For Everyone. If you like Pete Holmes, that's a good time. I've always enjoyed his stand-up. It's a little more consumable. It's not overly filled with language, but it's a fun time. And I'm still working my way through Orange is the New Black. And Kendall, I'm excited to ask you, do you have plans to watch Thanksgiving? The horror movie by Eli Roth that's coming out. Have you seen trailers?
No, I've not. No, but I will. I probably likely, depending on what it's streaming on, because I'm not one of these who has everything all the time. People.
So this one is out in theaters.
Okay.
In a week or so. So I just watched an amazing interview with Eli Roth on Tiger Belly, as you know, Bobby Lee and Kalila's podcast. Eli Roth is a horror film junkie. And since he was a kid, has always wanted to make holiday-themed horror films.
Okay.
A handful of years ago, Santa slashers started coming out, and he's like, there's never been one about Thanksgiving. And so he's wanted to do one about Thanksgiving. And he talks about all the thinking that went into this film. And I feel like you need to watch that before you go to the theaters and watch Thanksgiving. So,
okay.
Yeah, I think it'll add to your experience. His knowledge of film history in general, and then film history as it relates to the horror genre, is like fascinating to listen to a guy talk with so much passion about history in the horror film genre. And then to say, I specifically shot this scene in Thanksgiving based on this one movie from 30 years ago with X actor in it. And anyway, so you're going to appreciate it.
Very cool. Very cool. So we currently have Peacock, and for football purposes. But it is, so right now I'm kind of like trying to concentrate on watching Peacock specific stuff, and then we'll move on to the next after that. But so I've been watching John Wick because I saw on Peacock, I saw the series, The Continental.
Yes.
Which is based in the world of John Wick. And so then I looked it up really quickly and figured that I should go back and watch the films first, which I had not seen any of them. And so I did in recent weeks watch all 3 films. Or is it 4? 3?
4.
4. Yes, 4. Watched all 4 films. Had to rent the last one from Amazon. And then watched The Continental.
You and Dillon both just watched through the John Wick franchise, so I'm so excited.
Yeah, it was in my memory of Dillon watching through. So it was good. I found enjoyment. An interesting thing that I learned, I think maybe about myself, is that I think my taste has changed, and that when I actually go to watch a action thriller kind of movie such as John Wick, I no longer care for the super long, really cool looking fight scenes. I want more drama.
Interesting.
I want to see more acting.
Yeah.
And I found that really odd. I found myself sitting there watching this brilliantly choreographed. I mean, I don't think there are better choreographed and cooler fight scenes than in John Wick.
Come on.
But I also found myself like, man, is this done yet? Because I want to see where this goes.
Interesting.
That's really fascinating. I watched John Wick 1 and 2, quick take. It had been so long since I'd watched anything. The action scenes didn't go too long, but I felt the same way about when everyone kind of complained about Eternals, the Marvel movie 2 years ago. And I'm like, this feels like what everyone has been asking for. This actually feels like a different movie within the MCU. This is a lot more drama playing out of these characters interacting than just action, a little bit of break from action, good guy, bad guy, fight again, a little bit of break from that. Now the good guy can finally win. That it felt like a whole different take because it was about they can't die. It was about them like over time interacting with each other. So that's really interesting. I want to watch Continental. I need to watch the other John Wick movies. I think I watched 1 and 2. I don't think I got to see 3. But I enjoyed it a lot. It had been so long since I'd watched anything like that.
Yeah.
That it was just fun. I mean, it's a little heavy because they're a little brutal, but like not so much that I like couldn't watch them back to back.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's fine. And the Continental is good. I enjoyed the movies more than the Continental.
That was going to be my next question. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was still good. And absolutely you need to see the films first.
I think that's one of those things where if you know that they're like revenge, tons of fight sequence, shoot 'em up type films, and it's in your queue, you'll find yourself in that mood and you'll go to it for that. Like,
sure.
I kind of wanted a heavy mystery nature thing, and that's why I chose to watch Wind River on the plane, because I knew this is going to be beautiful scenically, but it's going to be a bit of a mystery, like a crime drama. And it deals with some pretty tough subjects. So I was like, yeah, I'm going for that. It's a good plane movie. Let's dig into it. Right. So like, and then you're like, as a palate cleanser, you watch, Pete Holmes do some stand up, and then you're like, so I feel like that's the benefit of these streamers, is that you can get exactly what you want in the time that you're looking for. And John Wick is definitely in a genre of like, I want some mindless sort of like, just sit down and watch a guy beat the crap out of everyone.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible stuff to watch, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glad you enjoyed. Dillon, you need to watch 3 and 4, man.
Yeah, I know. And I'm in the middle of stuff. I'm in the middle of Welcome to Wrexham season 2. I'm in the middle of Loki season 2. We're watching through Lego Masters. I think we're on season 3 or 4 now. So because of some travel and some other stuff, I'm not through anything. And then college football is still on. I've been watching a lot of videos for the NCAA video game, like the news for the video game that's coming summer 24.
Dillon wakes up in the morning and looks for new news on.
Yeah, there's
NCAA
not that
24.
much. So it's not like I'm scouring daily, but like one really interesting. There's this guy who does all the like public information requests to like find out what public information is passing between EA and the universities. And this is how fine, like one major concerns, right, of most fans of the game. Is there going to be dynasty mode? Yes. Is it just a reskin of Madden? No. Like there's a few things we know that are confirmed. There's going to be like a transfer portal. NIL is going to play some kind of part in the game. Maybe not a huge part of Dynasty, but it's somehow going to be in it. So like pretty interesting. But here's like a really here's how into the details they're getting on like trying to get players' likenesses and things like that, because they've got to work out. You can't go to each player and make a contract. You can't even go to each school. You've got to, there's like collective bargaining kind of thing. This is how into the weeds they are to make sure that they can make this as good as possible. So they want Army, Navy, Air Force players' names in too, right? But they can't get paid. They can only be, they're government employees. So like they're working through, how do we pay these guys? Do we make them a contractor? Do we like wait and then pay them after they graduate? So like they're working through that level of detail. They're having schools send like drone footage the songs, not only like the song that's played, but like this song is only played on a third down conversion. And they're getting that level of notes and detail. This song is only played between the third and fourth quarters. This effect is played every time we get a first down or a touchdown.
Yeah,
this
crazy.
They're having them send pictures of fans, the stadiums, alternate jerseys and helmets.
Hey,
like
Connor Stallions found a landing job.
They better get him. He has
in-game
so
photographer.
many details that he can pass along to the developers.
Yeah.
The level of like detail and some of the stuff that they're finding out through like public record request and then some insider tips from EA. It's exciting. Are they going to probably put microtransactions in it? Oh, probably. But the main kind of guy that's been doing all this record requesting and then talking about it, basically to put fans' minds at ease, like this isn't just a Madden reskin. I mean, he's like, the game might suck, but it's going to suck on its own merits, not because it's just a remake of a Madden game. So if it's bad, it's just a new game that's bad. I'm excited. It's just fun hearing about some of like the nitty gritty that they're getting into, and like all the schools are complying. And of course, you know that the people that are there are fans, so they're sending as much detail as they can, and photos and audio files and drone footage and everything that they can. I'm looking.
Imagine that Kendall wakes up in the morning after he's gotten his kids off to school, and he gets a cup of coffee and he sits down with his old-fashioned newspaper, and you do the same thing with your NCAA RSS feed.
Just a couple good subreddits that I follow to try to learn as much as I can.
What's the latest?
It's no 600-page manifesto, but it's something, that's for sure.
Man, there's never been a document I wanted to read more.
I can't wait for the tell-all. He needs his own like book. He needs like a movie.
I want to know more about who this guy is.
I know he resigned and he made some statements, and there were some reports.
There's really no new news. Well, it depends on it changes very quickly. I'll try to update it from last week. We talked about Connor Stallions, who he is. He got resigned / fired, right?
Right.
He was. I like to refer to it as he got resigned.
Yeah. It's fitting.
Yeah.
And
he made some statements.
His statement was, the point of his statement was to say that Jim Harbaugh nor anyone else on the staff or coaching knew that there was anything weird going on.
Sure.
If the movie isn't called Taming the Stallion, I'm going to be very
well. And the NCAA, who again, it's nothing that the NCAA for years now has had an axe to grind with Jim Harbaugh, has met with the Big Ten commissioner, who's getting a lot of pressure on him from Big Ten coaches to do something, because the NCAA takes notoriously forever to hand down punishments for anything. But they probably eventually will. And so the coaches are like, do something now, because everyone's pissed off. Mm-hmm. And so the commissioner, who's green, he's only like, this is his first year and he's dealing with this, requested information from the NCAA to find out what it is they know, probably so that he can cover his own butt, because the Big Ten has this thing where like you still have to investigate it. Like you can't just dole out punishment. And so I think this is his way of investigating, is just to ask the NCAA what they know so far.
Yeah.
And what the NCAA knows so far is that they don't have any evidence, despite having cell phones and computers and things, that anyone else except for Connor Stallions knew what was going on here. So like the theory so far, the theory of this guy was a super type A go-getter young guy who was trying to impress the world, narcissistic, had friends and family helping him out. He's taking credit for things because he wants to look great in the eyes of Jim Harbaugh. He was responsible for the 600-page manifesto of how in the future there was going to be this small group of people that he was friends with at the university, and they were going to take over the Michigan football program. And guess who was going to be the head coach of the future? Connor Stallions himself. Like, that's who this guy is. Like, he's crazy. At this, it's getting closer to the point where I would be surprised to find out if anybody else higher up at the University of Michigan was at all behind this. Like, I'm just saying, this dude's nuts.
If he's not in the video game on the Michigan sideline, I'm sending it back.
Yeah, no, totally. Like, I want to know more about Connor Stallions. I want to read this manifesto.
I wanted to weigh in when I was listening to you guys, which is another testament to one of the things people say that they do enjoy about us. We have our flaws, but one thing people do enjoy is that they feel like they want to weigh in. And that's how I found myself doing that when you guys were talking about this. And I wanted to be like, of all the games for him to get caught, Central Michigan, like that.
No. It was so that the game, Central Michigan is the game where he was on the Central Michigan sideline, not because he was trying to find information about Central Michigan,
right?
Because he wanted the vantage point of looking across the field, who was Michigan State.
Got it. Makes so much more sense now.
Yeah.
Even better if he pretends to be a Michigan State person, but I imagine it would be harder to get on that sideline. It all makes sense now. You could have
so now Central
that.
Michigan's going to get investigated over all this, and there's been a lot of like stuff. There's been news that has come and gone about like Ryan Day and his private investigator brothers supposedly getting like hacking into Michigan computers, and they're the ones who brought this information to the NCAA in the first place.
Which they just released right before recording.
That they don't have any reason to believe that has happened.
No, right? No known links between Ryan and the investigation.
But but there's also been there's been dozens of unknown links or unknown leaks going on from like these Big Ten meetings among coaches and that kind of thing. Well, it's the coaches. Like they all, If it's Michigan or Ohio State and this kind of news breaks out, the Big Ten coaches and about 4 other teams around the country, let's say Georgia and Oregon and Washington, and like they all have reason to see this thing get disciplined immediately.
Yep.
Obviously. So
fun times. And speaking of drama, Kendall, we have to talk Yellowstone sometime because I'm 2 or 3 episodes into season 2 now and loving every minute of it, Jerry, as Dillon would say.
There you go. So, and just to throw this out there, this is mainly probably just to piss off Buckeye fans, but you had better believe that I hope like heck that Michigan throws a giant contract at Jim Harbaugh, that he doesn't go anywhere. He serves whatever suspension he has to serve and comes back relatively unscathed, other than he missed a few games. I don't want to see that guy go anywhere. Love him.
Oh, I don't want to see him leave either. I hope he gets to stay. If he's supposed to get in trouble, I hope he gets in trouble.
Sure.
But I hope he stays.
Stand by him. That's
so find out what happens to the University of Michigan, Connor Stallions, and Jim Harbaugh next week on From the Middle. Thank you all for joining. And we will have that special guest. Sorry he was sick, but it's going to be a good one. It'll be worth the wait. It's good for me to be back and hang out with these guys. Hopefully you enjoy hanging out with us as much as I enjoy hanging out with them. Thank you to Artius Man for your sponsorship. Check out artiusman.com, ARTIUSMAN.com. Use promo code The Middle at checkout for 25% off your first order for all your amazing, naturally made, locally made men's grooming products, as well as I think their soy blend woodwick candles are one of their secret sauces. But anyway, check them out. It's good stuff. They've got some fall flavors. You'll enjoy it. Stay well, and we'll talk with you all next week. Bye.